So, this meeting will now commence at 6:05 p.m. The first order of business is roll call. May we please commence roll call?
For sure. So to begin, student trustee Bravo. Bravo absent. President Kumar.
Here.
Kumar present. Vice President Ahmed.
Here.
Ahmed present. Treasurer Nia Manuri.
Here.
Nia Manuri present. Chief of Staff Almendras.
Present.
Almendras present. Chairwoman Hamad.
Present.
Hamad present. Chairwoman El Adawer.
Present.
El Adawer present. Chairwoman Nalala.
Present.
Nalala present. Chairwoman Oire.
Present.
Oire present. Chairwoman Show.
Present.
Show present. Speaker of the House is Sincheva.
Present.
Sincheva present. Representative Petineo.
Here.
Petineo present. Representative Kasowski.
I'm here.
Kasowski present. Representative Denebad. Representative Denebad. Denebad absent. Representative Nehi. Representative Jada Nehi.
So I see that
Yeah.
Representative Nehi is in the meeting.
Yeah, Nehi present. Representative Aranda Ortiz. I see that she said the audio is, yeah, okay. Aranda Ortiz present. Representative Taylor.
Present.
Taylor present. Representative Abdel Salam.
They have an excused me absence.
Thank you. Representative Selvaraj.
Present.
Selvaraj present. Representative Bai.
Present.
Bai present. Representative Fernandez.
Present.
Fernandez present. Representative Villagomez.
Present.
Villagomez present. Representative Hack.
Present.
Hack present. Representative Nguyen. Representative Mai Nguyen.
I see that they're in the meeting.
Okay. Present. Representative Alzari.
Present.
Alzari present. Representative Bilba Sigamani. Representative Bilba Sigamani. Bilba Sigamani absent. Representative Khan.
Present.
Khan present. Representative Malik.
Present.
Malik present. Representative Henry.
Present.
Henry present. Representative Chris Mann.
Present.
Chris Mann present. And Representative Bora.
Present.
Bora present. And that concludes roll call.
All right, thank you. Let's see. The first order of business, or I'm sorry, no. The second order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. So please take this time to read over the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? All right, if there are no changes to the minutes, then the minutes will stand as approved. The next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to motion to add 3 resolutions. New business.
Motion to know what the name is.
Yeah. So 03, 2021 S9605, 604 and 605.
Okay. Let's see. All right, there has been a motion to add 3 resolutions to new business. Resolution 2021 S9603, Resolution 2021 S9604, and Resolution 2021, sorry, S9605. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, it has been seconded. All those in favor of adding these resolutions to new business, please say aye.
Aye.
All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and these resolutions have been added to the agenda. Are there any other corrections to the agenda? Okay, if there are no other changes to the agenda, then the agenda will stand as approved. The next order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Doesn't look like it. All right. So if there is no public comment, we can move on to the next order of business, which is guest speakers. So Anshu, would you like to introduce our guest speakers?
Yes, so Mehreen Ali is the president, and Anusha Amir is the event coordinator of Red Shoes Review, which is a literary and visual art magazine here on campus. And they came to a Treasury Committee meeting asking for funds. So I'm just going to give the floor to them and allow them to explain their club and what they're asking funds for.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm just going to go ahead and screen share our presentation. So as Anshu said, Red Shoes is UIC's literary and visual arts magazine, place for UIC's painters, poets, writers, photographers, artists, etc. So our core events are our annual open mic, which we have in the fall semester, and a yearly publication, which we collect submissions for in the fall semester and then have published in the spring semester. We also have GBMs and a few other events that we have focused on this year that Anusha will talk about.
So we have several ways that you can get involved. The first one is our annual publication. This year, we talked about 2020 in hindsight, and we had 50 submissions. It will be launching in April. And we also had our open mic night last semester. We made it into a competition because it was virtual, so we needed engagement. And we had prizes that were totaling up to $135. This was one of our most successful events. Every Friday, we also ask our members to submit any art or poetry that they might have so that they can get featured on our Instagram. So we have 19 posts and counting. And we also have ways to stay connected. So our group chat has about 56 members where we kind of just send weekly updates. We also use our weekly emails where we talk about special events we might be holding or any reminders we have for weekly chill-in chats or Friday features. You can also visit our website where we have past issues and we just update it with what we do. And then our Instagram is growing immensely. We have over 830 followers now, and that is our biggest platform and where we get our most members from. So some of the events we held this year was a speaker event with Shauna Abraham. She was an author of a book that she published. She's a senior, and so she came and talked about the publishing process. And so a lot of people were intrigued about how her journey of a writer was. And then, like I said, we have bi-weekly chill and chats where we kind of have one theme. So sometimes we play games, sometimes we do like Spotify listening sessions. So for all the new transfer students or freshmen who weren't able to get the traditional experience, they're able to still make friends. We also recently held an art tutorial where our marketing chair kind of drew a portrait and then everyone else was able to follow along. So it was just a great way to interact with the members. And so our annual publication is going to be launching in April, end of April. Our theme is 2020 in hindsight, which was perfect for this year because people were able to talk about their experiences in quarantine, ups and downs, what COVID made them realize, like how they felt about life in general, a lot of social justice movements and national and global catastrophes that were happening. And because of COVID, we're not able to host our annual publication party. Usually we invite all of our members and people who were featured in the magazine to come celebrate with us. But this year we're not able to host that, which leads us into why we need funds.
Yeah, so as Anisha talked about, we've kind of this year built a really strong community through RSR, and our members have been able to make friends, grow as writers and artists, and overall just enhance their time at UIC and in the virtual school environment. So to commemorate everything that we've done through the school year, we would usually have the annual publication party, which is a pretty big thing. We usually have like food, we have awards and stuff like that. So this year, since we're not able to have that, along with our quad release day, where we just all meet up on the quad and kind of just distribute our magazine and also like connect with members as like another end of the year event, we would like to have another way to commemorate the RSR community this year. So for that, we would like to provide merch for pickup with our magazines. We believe that this would enhance the virtual experience because not only would it serve as a substitute for our yearly traditions, it would also give people something to remember RSR and their experience with RSR this year by. We would also have a design contest for our members to create the actual merch design. So that ties into our like creative assets of our organization as well. So a little bit of the logistics for our proposed plan. So right now we are almost ready to print for our 2020-2021 issue, but also last year's issue because we were not able to print at that time due to COVID. So we have confirmed with our faculty advisor that we will be able to store the magazines in the Honors College over a period of several weeks and have people come in and pick those up on their own time from the Honors College as well. So we have found a merch company that fits our timeline for printing the magazine. So we would be able to have both merch and the magazine copies available for pickup at the same time. And we aim to have a pre-order form in order to ensure everyone who would like merch gets one. So basically how it would work is the members that come in to pick up their magazines at the same time, if they filled out the pre-order form, they would be able to pick up the merch as well. And it's all in the same location. And in case something happens where they can't pick it up that school year, but want to the next school year, they'll be able to store it in the Honors College for us. So our proposal is to purchase 30 hoodies and then to have those available to our members for $8 each. We request $630 from USG as the total amount we would get from our members is $240, and the estimate for 30 hoodies is $870. This is the like official estimate from our supplier, which is SUF LLC. which is a local small business as well. And then this estimate includes multicolored prints with one print on the front of the hoodie. And we during our meeting with the Treasury Committee, we also talked about how we will include USG in our acknowledgement section as well. So that's pretty much all we have to present for you. And now I'll take any questions if anyone has them or any comments.
Does anybody have any questions?
That I think this time, so yeah, I have a couple of questions actually. Are you shipping these hoodies anywhere, like to the school or to people's places?
We would just ship them to UIC. I think they may also be available for pickup. And then one of our board members can pick them up, because we do have some board members that commute to UIC for either classes or research purposes right now. So they would be able to do that. So just to the Honors College, but other than that, we're not shipping them out individually because that would like increase costs by a lot.
So let's say USG covers only 630. How will you get the rest of the money?
So we do have that amount in our account in the Red Shoes Reviews personal account. So we would just use those funds, and then as we get the $8 back from our members, we would just distribute those back in there.
Okay, could you go back a slide?
Yeah.
Okay, one more. Okay, could you also, you know how like USG has, like we need to have our logo on the merch. So have you designed the shirts yet?
We have collected some designs, but we haven't done it officially yet, but we can definitely include the USG logo on there.
Okay. And actually a question outside of this, who's your social media chair? Is it Anusha or
It's Rida, our marketing director, and then I do some of it. Yeah.
how often do you guys meet?
How often do we meet? As a board, we meet every other week.
Oh, okay. Because I talked to her about the elections, but she never got back to me. But I
Oh.
mean, the elections are over, so don't worry about it.
No, they're still open.
No, elections of USG.
Oh, elections of USG.
But thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your meeting to listen to it.
I have a question. So, is the magazines exclusive to members, or is it going to be like spread out throughout the university?
It's throughout the university. So RSR, there's no barriers to join. You can join anytime throughout the school year, and anyone can come pick up a copy if they want. Usually we would actually have copies in the library and stuff like that. But I'm not sure how that's going to work this year. I know for sure we're going to have it in the Honors College like we usually do, but depends if the library is open or not. But yeah.
Great, thank you.
Michael?
Hey, so I saw you guys had like 30 hoodies. Is that based on like participation? Is there like a cutoff you guys were doing? I was just kind of curious how you guys.
Yeah, so we're like, our estimation is based off of kind of like who would want merch. So we have about like 50 to 60-ish like active members. That's usually like the highest number we would get at like virtual events. And then just going off of participation in like Friday Futures magazine and everything, we just came to that number as like for sure we would probably have 30 people that would want to pick up a hoodie. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you for presenting. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or leave, whichever one you prefer. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It would be great if maybe you could leave some contact information in the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so let's see. We can move on to the next order of business, which is internal election. So this is really exciting. So it only happens once a year, so it's awesome. But first, here, okay, sorry. Here's how it's gonna go. Basically, we're gonna start with nominations. First, I'm going to ask for treasurer nominations and then speaker nominations. So, you guys are able to, present your nominations, and then the nominee has to accept or decline your nomination. And if they accept it, then no more nominations is needed. They just need one. And then after that, everybody will be giving their speeches, 2 to 3 minute speech on why they should be elected into that position. After that, we will move the we'll move the nominees to a different breakout room where they'll just be there, and then in the meantime the rest of USG will be having a discussion on who should be, or basically just the qualifications of each nominee. After that, we'll move all the voting members, including the nominees who can vote, into a separate breakout room with Wasan, and they're going to be able to vote. Yep. Thank you, Wasan, for the comment. Yep. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Okay, all right. So we're gonna get started. First, let's do this. We're open to hearing any nominations for the treasurer position. So are there any nominations for treasurer?
I would like to nominate Mohammed Haq for treasurer.
All right, Mohammed, would you like to accept or decline the nomination?
Would like to accept, Daisy.
Okay, awesome. Are there any other nominations for the treasurer position? Any other nominations for the treasurer position? Okay, doesn't seem like that is the case. So the next one for the speaker position, are there any nominations for the speaker position?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Representative Kayla Taylor for the position of Speaker.
All right, Kayla, would you like to accept or decline the nomination?
I would like to accept.
Okay, are there any, Bayan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question. Is
Yes.
today the only day you're doing nominations?
Yes, nominations and voting will happen today.
Okay, and no one was nominated for treasurer?
Mohammed was nominated.
Oh, okay, got you. I missed that.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Are there any other nominations for the speaker position? Okay, it doesn't look like it. So, just to confirm, we have Mohammed for the treasurer position, and we have Kayla for the speaker position. And it doesn't seem like there's any other nominations, so we can move forward with the speeches. So, Mohammed, would you like to present your speech for why you should be the next treasurer?
Sure. 1 second. All right, is everybody ready? All right. Y'all can hear me, right? I just want to make sure my microphone is working. All right, great. All right, so good evening, everyone. First off, I really want to thank President-elect Anshu for the incredible work that he's done as treasurer this past year and for his nomination. I look forward to the progress that he will help us carve out in the upcoming year. Tonight, I have the pleasure of speaking to all of you as to why I should earn your trust to be the next treasurer. Over this past year, I've had the opportunity to view the numerous initiatives we passed and learn more about the way USG works on a closer level beyond the traditional representative's experience. This unique journey I've had this year was because I was selected to be a deputy treasurer, a position I'm immensely grateful to have had. In each of the resolutions we worked on and the progress we made from it, I saw the power that we have, the ability for USG to truly represent the undergraduate student body in times where it may not be so easy to do so. This is, of course, considering all the challenges that exist in improving our community. This past year also taught me the importance of an efficient Treasury Committee. Call it bias, but I think it's fair to assume that the Treasury Committee is a bird's eye view of the entire USG, in the sense that we have the ability to participate in virtually any initiative started by anyone in USG or by any other UIC organization. I'm confident that with what all that I've learned this year, I'll be ready for the responsibility to lead this committee into the next year. It will be my goal as treasurer to ensure continuity of a healthy, functioning Treasury Committee, especially as we transition back to normalcy. Thank you all for your time and consideration. And on one last note, whether it's as treasurer or as a fellow representative, I look forward to serving with all of you who will be here in the next year and hopefully the year afterwards. So thanks.
All right, thank you, Mohammed. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So how will you make the Treasury Committee more efficient in the upcoming year?
Right. So one of the most important things as treasurer is to make sure that organizations or that we develop good bridges with organizations, that we strengthen the ties that we currently have. So one of my first responsibilities as treasurer is to make sure that all USC organizations know that we're here, and to ensure that the new USC Proverbs that will be coming, we'll also develop those connections with them so that we can have a good relationship everywhere, so that they know who USG are, they know what we're about, they know that we're here to support them, and really that'll be my priority going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Just a quick question. I was wondering how you might handle a transition back to in-person learning and sort of in-person USG meetings as well, if that's how happened in the spring semester.
Right, great question, Rashan. Thank you so much. So one of the unique perspectives I have on this is that I'm also now a new representative on the Future of Instruction Task Force that the USC Senate has. So I have a closer view on how USC plans to go back to normalcy after the pandemic. So I will definitely integrate what they're trying to do to what USG can do, especially as treasurer. Also, if there's any funding problem, like for example, if they need more masks or if we are struggling with vaccinations, obviously we at USG can do everything we can. And it'll be my priority as treasurer to make sure that everything goes back to normal as smoothly as possible from our angle.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mohammed? All right, if there are no more questions, thank you so much for your speech. Next, we are going to move on to Kayla's speech, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Daisy, and thank you, Wasan, for the nomination. As current interim speaker working under current Speaker of the House, Daisy Stancheva, I have not only gained ample experience and understanding for what it takes to be speaker, but I have come to sincerely enjoy all the tasks that I have thus far been assigned, in addition to everything that the general role as interim speaker entails. Through some experience I have already gained, I am confident my organizational skills will exceed what is necessary to prepare for and manage meetings, organize and prepare documents such as weekly packets, and more. My previous background in the arts has provided me with the public speaking ability necessary as speaker to facilitate meetings. And it has also provided me with an emotional intelligence needed to cultivate an inclusive and a welcoming environment that is necessary for our members to creatively and intelligently thrive in a way that best serves our student body. As a woman of color with an interfaith and multicultural background, I can understand and embrace students from various cultural backgrounds, allowing a broader perspective when working to serve our diverse student body. If granted this position, I will not only serve as an advocate, but as a representation for underrepresented demographics that UIC serves. As interim speaker and as a representative this year, I believe my dedication to student government and the UIC student body in general speaks for itself. I have no doubt that this dedication will continue and grow stronger as I transfer into the role of speaker if granted the position. Thank you again for the nomination, and thank you for considering me for the role of the next Speaker of the House.
All right, thank you, Kayla. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. So how will you ensure community within this organization?
Well, I can't give any specifics simply because I don't understand or I don't know the exact layout of what next year is going to look like in student government. But I can say that I will do my best in my position to make sure all voices are not only heard, but equitably served. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Arthur, is that a raised hand or?
I think
Okay, go
so, but yeah, just one quick question. As speaker, how will you increase engagement within the representative body?
Well, I will definitely continue occasional meetings that Daisy has kind of put in place. But I think something that I kind of would like to do is have more individual connections with members that may not be as involved in meetings, if that makes sense. Maybe representatives that we don't hear speak often, I would like to have or form more of an individual relationship as speaker with them, so that maybe I can just, it serves as a check-in for them and just make sure that they feel comfortable to speak and stuff, and make sure that they feel comfortable in their position on student government, and kind of just like make sure everyone's contributing in the best way possible and in ways that, feel comfortable to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you, Aitana. I think you turned it on again. It's okay. So basically, what's going to happen next is all of the nominees will be moved to a different breakout room. And while that is the case, the rest of you will be discussing your nominations. So let me open the breakout rooms. And then at some point, you guys will be moved into the voting room because you are still voting members, so you can vote. And when you get an invitation to go to the voting room, then just go and you'll be able to vote. All right, I'm gonna open the rooms now. All right, welcome back everybody. Welcome back from voting. Wasan, would you like to announce the results?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And thank you so much, Daisy, for running this whole program. And a huge congratulations to Mohammed and Kayla on being our next treasurer and Speaker of the House, respectively.
Good job. Good job, y'all. Do you guys know if they need to read or to do the little oath?
I think so. Unless Keith and
Yes,
Dre, you guys
okay.
have any differences on that?
Okay, I'll pull it up. Just give me 1 second. Congratulations, that's really exciting. Okay. All right, so Mohammed and Kayla, you will have to do the USG oath. So if you could please turn on your cameras and turn on your mics and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I
I
do
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I
that I
will
will support
and
and
defend
the students of the University of Illinois at Chicago,
the students of the
students of the
University
University
of
of
Illinois at Chicago,
that I will serve students
that I will
and I
serve
will serve
students
faithfully and truthfully,
faithfully
and
and truthfully,
truthfully,
and that I will uphold, protect, and preserve
and that I
and I
will
will uphold,
uphold,
preserve,
protect,
and
and
preserve
preserve
the Constitution and standing rules
the
the
Constitution and
Constitution and standing rules
of the undergraduate student government.
of the
of the
undergraduate
undergraduate
student
student.
government.
Congratulations! Woo! Good job. It's really exciting. Good job, y'all. All right. Okay. So let's see. The next order of business is old business. So, Wasan, if you'd like to present. And first, we have Resolution 2021-S8-601. So, Wasan or Bayan, would you like to present it?
Since I read last week, I'll just read it. Okay, so this is Resolution 2021 S8601, and please let me know if like my voice becomes low because my internet is a bit lagging. Student leadership training, first reading March 15, 2021, second reading and voting March 29 today. Chief sponsors President Wasim Kumar and Chair of Diversity and Inclusion, co-sponsor Representative Sarah Malik. Whereas identifying and preventing gender-based violence on campus is a key priority, and we find it critical to increase awareness on campus among students on how to respond to such incidences and react properly in a way that does no harm to the survivor. Moreover, students must be equipped with tools to allow them to understand how to navigate sexual misconduct reporting process and be aware of their options. And whereas the undergraduate sexual assault prevention training required for UIC students has been shown to be ineffective in preventing sexual assault due to the disengaging scenarios presented and undeniable fact that there have been multiple assaults reported on campus, with others that have not been reported. Students need a more engaging discussion and facilitator who will challenge their thoughts and decision-making process when presented with various scenarios regarding gender-based violence. Whereas the Campus Advocacy Network has developed and will be leading a training for all student organizations, which will be required for students to participate in as a new requirement for student organization registration, including fraternity and sorority life, student athletes, and other student leaders in paid or unpaid positions. The training will include survivor-centric workshops that facilitate conversations and dialogues addressing the moral dilemma brought upon students when presented with a situation regarding sexual misconduct. Furthermore, these workshops will help students navigate their options and understand when it is the right time to take action and prevent the occurrence of an act of harassment. And whereas failure to complete the training will result in sanctions being placed upon organizations which include but not limited to termination of activity for the semester, prohibition of organizing on-campus events, prohibition of reserving on-campus spaces, loss of funds received by the university, and disapproval of requests for USG funds. Then let it be resolved that the undergraduate student government demands a leadership training to be required for all registering student organizations, including fraternity and sorority life, student athletes, and other student leaders beginning fall 2021, which will be led by staff from the Campus Advocacy Network unit on campus. We recommend further that this training be expanded to be offered to all students at UIC through the first year seminar program. Let it be further resolved that USG will work with Student Affairs Department, Center for Student Involvement, and Student Engagement Office to ensure the training is being implemented and that all student organizations are completing the training.
All right, thank you. So are there any questions or comments or amendments regarding this resolution? Michael?
Hey, I know I talked about this last time in terms of asking who would do the training. Would you guys consider extending it to like all e-board instead of just like the 3 main people, or do you think that'd just be too logistically hard to get all those people in one room or one Zoom call? Because like in the spirit of getting as many students trained as possible.
Yeah, I can answer that. Absolutely. Like I would definitely be in favor of something like that. The more expansion that you can get, the better. When you think about this, right, like the ultimate goal is to be able to develop something that's provided to all students, right? Not just student leaders, not just the people who are running student orgs, right? But to every single student, either through first year seminar or through some other sort of required course that this is a part of. That being said, like even just what we're trying to do here, which is essentially a pilot for that, is proving to like just have a lot of difficulties. Like people in certain positions, like in student affairs, aren't able to or willing to kind of go so far as to do something like this. And so I think that like, yes, absolutely. Like I would love to extend it from just like the 3 main e-board positions to maybe like all 16 members of an org's e-board. But it seems like right now we just don't have that kind of capacity.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I can also talk a little bit about that. Um, so when organizations register, they are only required to provide 3 members, and that is the president, vice president, and treasurer. So those are the only 3 people that you're required to have. And I know organizations that only have those people registered, but actually, in fact, they have a lot more members than that are just not registered in the system. So that could definitely be an issue because we wouldn't know. We don't know who those students are. We don't know how we can ensure that they have taken the training. So I think that's why in this resolution they only have those. I think it's 3 people in here. Any other comments or questions or amendments? Okay. If there are no more comments, questions, amendments, or anything else, we can move on to voting. So all those in favor of resolution 2021-S8-601, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? All right, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. The next order of business is new business. So first, we are going to have Resolution 2021-S9-902. So this is my and Matthew's resolution on the strike policy, which we call the Officer Accountability Act of 2021, to give it a really fancy, cool name. So just give me 1 second to pull it up on my own computer. Okay, all right. So Chief Sponsor Daisy Stancheva, Chief of Staff Matthew Almendris. Whereas it is an expectation for USG to run smoothly and efficiently, and whereas this is accomplished by Executive Board members who diligently and effectively complete their duties, and whereas Executive Board members who disrupt USG's work by not completing their duties are in contradiction with this expectation, then let it be resolved that Executive Board members who do not complete their duties shall face consequences, and let it be further resolved that these consequences shall be a part of the strike policy, which shall be included in the USG legislative documents as outlined below. So in the bylaws, we're going to add the following. Point 6, or we're going to change the following rather. Point 6 and all of its subpoints found under Article 8, Section 4. Point A, Chief of Staff shall be replaced with the following. Point 6. The Chief of Staff is the primary officer responsible for issuing a strike. However, in rare occasions, the President, Vice President, or Speaker of the House also have the authority to issue a strike as needed. Point I shall be added under Article 8 as following. I. Other duties and responsibilities. A. Strike policy. Point 1. The President, Vice President, Speaker of the House, or Chief of Staff, in accordance with the USG advisor, have the authority to levy, however you pronounce it, strikes against Executive Board members as needed. 2. Multiple offenses could result in both strikes happening simultaneously. 3. Causes for a strike shall include but are not limited to A. Violation of the USG's mission and values. B. Unfulfillment of constitutional duties. C. Attendance issues as outlined in the expectations section of the bylaws. D. Failure to follow guidelines outlined in the USG handbooks. Point 4. The process of striking shall be mandated in the USG handbook. Point 5. Strikes are confirmed or denied by a 3/4 vote by executive board members. Point 6. The first strike shall result in a 20% reduction total of the offender's stipend. Point 7. The second strike shall result in a 50% reduction total of the offender's stipend. Point A. Multiple offenses might result in both strikes occurring at the same time. And then point 8, a third strike shall start an impeachment hearing for the offender. See Article 7 of the Constitution. And then in the Constitution, we'll be changing the following. Point A, found in Article 7.01, shall be replaced with the following. A, the impeachment process can be started by an executive member of the legislative branch, or on the third strike. Okay, so before I open up the floor, just a few comments. So the first thing that we're changing from the bylaws, point 6 and all of its subpoints, that pretty much talks about how the Chief of Staff has the authority to do a strike policy, and all of the subpoints describe what that looks like, what the strike policy looks like. So the reason why we're getting rid of all of that point and all of its subpoints is because we have a new strike policy that's outlined over here. And additionally, because now we are giving the authority to call for a strike to the Chief of Staff, President, Vice President, and Speaker. And then we are adding the strike policy under other duties and responsibilities, which is in the same article. And then for the Constitution, the thing that we're changing, that point A in Article 7.01, that is a point about impeachment. And it is pretty much almost the same, except we also added or on the third strike. So the entire sentence except the last part was already there. Okay, so I open up the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or amendments? Bayan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a quick question about the 1, 2, 3, 4th line. Who do not complete their duties. So what duties other than reports, because you guys already have presented a resolution about reports?
Yeah, so basically what we were thinking about would be things that are either in the bylaws and constitution, such as attendance, or we were also thinking about maybe like the things from the handbook. So for example, Matthew is now working on handbooks with the members or with the executive board members on what that person is doing, and that handbook will be passed on to the next person in the position, and then they would pretty much have to follow the same duties. So for example, for me as a speaker, I need to do the packets, right, every week. So that would be included in the handbook. And if a speaker in the future doesn't do the meeting packet, that could be considered a breach of the handbooks, or just a breach of, USG's workflow, because they wouldn't have a packet for the meeting. And that could be considered an offense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. And just a follow-up question. Honestly, I'm trying to imagine a speaker not doing the packet, like USG would
You
not.
never know. I mean, I know for a fact Kale will be doing the packets. I can promise you that. But you never know. Some of the former USG cabinet members did not do their duties. And this is just to prevent that from happening again.
No,
if
that
that
makes
makes
sense. Well, is there some sort of like a system where the chief of staff, like since Matthew would be responsible for uh like the packets, he's basically person running them, telling us, hey, like let me have this packet, and like telling us what to have in the packet. Maybe like a system where you would send reminders to cabinet members, because honestly, like, yes, there are duties like USG specific duties, but we also have other like outside duties. Like for example, Watson literally just scheduled more than 5 meetings for the next couple of weeks, and they're all for one thing. They're literally all to speak with different departments about Title IX, because that's how, like, the training we're trying to implement, because that's how much work it takes to implement one thing and to like get people to do something. So, and on top of all of that, other things that we have to work on, right? Other commitments. So when it comes to duties like the packet, like I haven't done the packet yet, but maybe, and I didn't forget about it, but maybe reminders or something to make it more communicative, and not just like, oh, strike one, and oh, I missed a report, strike 1, 2, 3, you're out of USG. Like, I don't think that's fair.
Okay, I see. Matthew, do you have any comments?
Yeah, so by packets, you mean the officer handbooks?
Like, 1 second. Let me elaborate real quick. Like Daisy, in the beginning, you used to send us reminders for the reports. And I understand there was a lot of frustration with people not submitting them, but I do think that the reports were beneficial for, I mean, the reminders were beneficial for other people.
I can explain that. So basically the way that I see it is that USG for the executive board positions are that's a paid position. And you know, in the way that I myself and a few other people see it, a professor would not keep chasing people for them to turn in their work. You guys know that you need to turn it in. So it is your responsibility to remember to do it. And it's, you know, you can put reminders for yourself, or you can have other people remind you if that works for you. But you know, this is work that everybody knows that they should be completing. So you know, and the reminders that I was doing before were more so like a transition towards a time where there wouldn't be reminders. So but that's pretty much this semester. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe I'm thinking in the beginning of next year, where transitioning is still happening. I mean, we kind of, like, I understand the frustration you had to deal with, but also we didn't have any type of training or transitioning happen. So, like, do you
I see.
understand my point?
Okay, I see. Michael, did you have a comment?
My bad, I was muted. I saw that the chief of staff was the one issuing the strikes. Would that ever be a conflict of interest as because like I feel like the Speaker of the House and the Treasurer are the people that are like democratically elected within USG. Do you think that'd be the most like non-biased person to issue a strike, like either the Treasurer or the Speaker of the House?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
can comment on this. So yeah, the reason why that's why we wanted to spread out this power. We're hoping that the officers in the future, like the president, vice president, speaker, um, will recognize if someone's, you know, offending like their constitutional duties, and will like levy a strike as necessary. And of course, representatives, you can of course recommend any of these positions to levy a strike or like make a case for it.
Yeah, and also just to add to that, a strike cannot happen without the advisor approving it. A strike is a pretty, you know, pretty heavy sentence, I guess. So it cannot happen without advisor approval. So the advisors would also have to be briefed on what's going on. And the way we envisioned it would be to have a warning before giving a strike. But that I'm not too sure why we didn't really add that in here. But if Matthew has a comment on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so before we came up with this final like policy, it was like 6 pages long because we wanted it to be really specific. But we decided to leave all those specifics, leave it like more vague in the bylaws, but make it more specific in the handbook. So then any one of these positions, the president, vice president, speaker, or chief of staff, can refer to the handbook if someone is not fulfilling their constitutional duty. And yeah, so like in the handbook, it'll mention that you can of course issue a warning before issuing a strike. But yeah, it'll be mentioned in the handbook, the specifics.
Are there any other comments or questions? Ben?
Wait, Watson raised his hand like physically. Oh wait, he's co-host, he can't raise his hand. But okay, can we maybe Daisy and Matthew, maybe we could meet and discuss this this resolution sometime this week. I don't want to take too much of the meeting's time, but honestly, like as it is right now, as it's written right now, I don't think there's enough details. I don't think the whole thing is fair. I think we need to discuss this more.
May I ask, in what way do you find it not fair?
I just don't think there's enough room of flexibility for chairs. Like I'm chair, right? And I complete my work. I turn in my reports. I'm not talking this is not flexible enough for me, myself, but I think in the future, I don't think it's flexible enough for board members. And we can discuss it like we could discuss it more and maybe not reword anything, but just add more details. I would appreciate more details in this resolution and more flexibility.
I see what
Okay.
you mean. The thing is, all of the board gets paid to do their job. And if they are not completing their duties, as outlined in the Constitution bylaws and the handbooks, then that would need to have some sort of consequence. So one example that I could give you would be with our former chief of staff, because our former chief of staff didn't really do their duties. So they stopped showing up to meetings, they stopped replying to emails, they stopped turning in any work, any reports, any of that. And we weren't really able to do anything about it because there wasn't a policy on it, because only the chief of staff could, call for a strike. And of course, the chief of staff would not call a strike against themselves. So that's kind of why we came up with this policy. I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, this is a job. Everybody in the e-board is getting paid to do what they're doing. And if they are not doing it, then that would be a consequence. Danny? Oh, sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
No, Danielle can speak first.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have two quick comments. The first one is I absolutely agree that this has to be strict because this is, as just Daisy said, this is a job position, and I think we get paid out of student fees. So I definitely think that we should have it like as strict as possible, because in our internships, in our future jobs, so even in classes, we just don't get that kind of flexibility. So I definitely think that it should be as strict as possible, but I also believe that for us to be able to do our best, like our better job, we should definitely, and I don't know if this is the place to include it, but definitely have all the duties of every single position listed out. And maybe this is something that the new administration can work on, if some positions are changed or if anything is changed. But overall, just making sure that we have a list of all the duties of every position so we can hold every position accountable with this policy. But overall, I just wanted to say that I do think it has to be strict because um, this should be seen as a privilege and not even as a privilege, but actually like a real position. Like this is a job for you. Like you're really getting paid. But that's it.
Thank you, Danny. And I also have a comment about the listing of everything that a person needs to do should be listed. That's why we are having the handbooks because it's going to be listed in the handbooks. We don't want to put it in the bylaws because the bylaws change, or the bylaws should not change constantly. Meanwhile, the handbooks can change, every year from person to person. And yeah, there's some things that are not necessarily in the bylaws that need to be included in the handbook. Like for example, the calendar that was done last year was with it was maintained by the secretary and the chief of staff, and then that wasn't necessarily in the bylaws, but it was supposed to be passed down to the next chief of staff, and the next chief of staff didn't really work on it. They just passed it on to somebody else, and that would be kind of one of the things that would be mentioned in the handbook that could potentially result in a strike. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other comments?
I believe Wasan had something.
Yeah, sorry, I had a quick question. And so just to confirm and kind of clarify, you're not necessarily, and this might also help waylay some concerns, you're not directly saying that, just because, like Wasson missed a report, he's also going to get a strike, but it is like a possibility. That's what you're trying to say, right? It's like if, for example, like if I miss a report, it says right here, right, like I'm not filling my constitutional duties. So there is a chance that I'll get a strike, but there's also a chance that like, look, maybe the chief of staff or maybe the speaker will look at it and say like, okay, like, yes, like you didn't submit your report, but you also like had all these other sorts of things that you would kind of explain as to like why you were not submitting your report ahead of time or something like that.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be that harsh. It's not gonna be that harsh. It's not gonna be like, oh well, you didn't do one thing, so now here's a strike. No, it's gonna be like a combination of things. Like for example, for the former chief of staff, it was, missing the meetings, not turning in reports, not answering emails. It was just all of those things at once. It wasn't just, no report. Just no report would not necessarily, or just one missing report would not cause a strike. It would be a combination of either a lot of reports or, not coming to the meetings, not replying to emails. If you're a committee chair, that would include maybe not working on things. Even if you work on one or two things, that's good enough. But if there is nothing that you're working on, then that could result in a strike. So it's not going to be as strict as I think you guys are thinking it'll be.
And may I mention that we didn't actually really add much to strike policy because as it stands right now, I still have the power as the chief of staff to give strikes, and we didn't like add anything new to it. We're just adding who gets the power. So like, there's nothing. We're not adding anything more strict. I think, in fact, might be a little bit more lenient because we increased the amount of votes. It used to be one half, about 3/4 of the executive board. Yeah. And in terms of the reports, I think if you miss a report, I think that's like just 1/4 of unexcused absence, right, Daisy? Not like a full strike.
Yeah, so if your report is late, um, that would result in 1/4 of an unexcused absence. And then if your report is not there at all, like you don't even end up sending it, that'll be a half of an unexcused absence. So, an accumulation of those would or could result in a strike or impeachment. But once again, that shouldn't be the case because we are getting paid for this and reports are part of our job, so they should be completed. Any other comments or questions? Okay. So this will be voted on next week. So if anybody has any concerns, reach out to me and we can set up a meeting, or we can talk about it, talk about everybody's concerns, and yeah. All right. Thank you for the discussion, everybody. Next we have Resolution 2021-S9-805. Anshu, would you like to read that?
Yeah, thanks, Daisy. So this is the resolution for the Uber Eats vouchers. The long-awaited Uber Eats vouchers resolution is finally here. And so the chief sponsors, Daniela and I. And so whereas the undergraduate student government has funds allocated for all general USG business and expenses under the discretionary fund, and whereas the undergraduate student government will conclude a successful academic year, and these vouchers will serve as a celebratory measure for the body. And whereas in previous years where all general body meetings were held in person, free food was provided to all members. And whereas the vouchers will serve as an essential element for the end of the year virtual party hosted the week before final exams, let it be resolved that USG will allocate no more than $925 to provide all 32 members with a $25 Uber Eats voucher.
Thank you. I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Are there any comments, questions, or amendments to this resolution?
Yeah, just a point of information, I'll be using an executive order to accelerate voting on this resolution to tonight.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have a question. So Anshu, I know you gave us like a budget report a few weeks ago, but of course that's changed. So do you know how much is left in our funds?
So as an estimate, I believe around 30 to 40,000. I plan to do a budget recap next meeting, but I don't believe this resolution will create any like large impact to where anything can't be funded, or we won't have any more resources for the future projects that we have.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Okay, Wasan?
Oh yeah, then I'd like to use an executive order to move resolution 2021-S9-805 to be voted on tonight.
All right, so the president has called for an executive order for resolution 2021-S9-805. So we will be voting on it tonight. All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? All right, the ayes have it. This resolution has passed. Next, we have Resolution 2021-S9-806. Anshu, would you like to present it?
Yes. So 1 second. Okay, yeah. So I'm the chief sponsor, and the co-sponsors are Deputy Treasurer Mohammed, Representative Matt, and Representative Megan. So whereas the undergraduate student government has funds allocated for external organizations, such as clubs in the External Organization Fund, and whereas Red Shoes Review at UIC will no longer be able to host a publication release party for the annual literary artwork publication, and whereas USG will be promoted in the publication as a sponsor, further promoting USG's presence and brand on campus, and whereas Red Shoes Review at UIC members have committed to spending $240 of their own funds towards the purchase of the merchandise, then let it be resolved that USG will spend $21 for each of the 30 hoodies, totaling in $630.
All right, thank you. I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Are there any comments, questions, or amendments to this resolution? Anything? Okay, well, if not, then this will be voted on next week. Next we have Resolution 2021-S9-405. Aitana, would you like to present it?
Sure. All right. So this is called Purchasing Canva Pro. The chief of sponsor is me, the chair of public relations. Whereas PRC's role is creating graphics and collaborating on posters/flyers per the request of USG's members. And whereas PRC's main graphic design platform is the free version of Canva, which contains limitations such as reduced graphics, the inability to resize canvases, and limited cloud storage, more shown in the comparison below. And whereas, as we advance to the new academic year, PRC wants to invest in Canva Pro for features such as solidifying USG's brand with Canva Brand Kit, PNG tools, content planning calendar, and the ability to download designs at high resolution. More features down below. And whereas purchasing the Pro version at this time will be beneficial for the 2021 through 2022 teams, since they can familiarize themselves with Canva Pro's features and can immediately plan and design graphics for the 2021 through 2022 academic year. And whereas, to note, future PRC chairs will be responsible for purchasing the Pro version annually as a duty. Then, let it be resolved, PRC shall buy Canva Pro yearly plan annual of $179.87 per year per month for one team consisting of 2 members, the PRC chair and the deputy chair. Note, the annual price will change based on how many members are included in the Canva Pro team. Let it be further resolved, the purchase of Canva Pro will give the 2021 through 2022 PRC team the ability to collaborate better and create quality content to advertise initiatives that represent USG. I've included the comparison below between the free and the Pro version. And I've also included the total for a team with 2 seats below.
Okay, thank you. So does anybody have any comments, questions, or amendments to this resolution? And just to confirm, is this going to be voted on next week or this week?
Next week.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, or amendments? Okay, all right, so if not, then this resolution will be voted on next week. Okay, next we have resolution 2021-S9-309. Tega, would you like to present it?
Arthur's actually going to do the presenting.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, hello. So chief sponsors, Tega and I, co-sponsors, representatives Jada and Representative Jocelyn. So without further ado, whereas part of the Get Vaccinated awareness campaign toolkit, physical posters will be put up at on-campus sites, including Student Center East, Student Center West, the Academic and Residential Complex, James Stucco Towers, Residence Hall Information Board, Thomas Beckham Hall Residence Hall Information Board, and Courtyard and Common West Residence Hall Area Information Board, the UIC College of Pharmacy and Credit Union 1 arena. And whereas the Get Vaccinated awareness campaign is to encourage students to get the COVID-19 vaccine and answer questions surrounding the efficacy, effectiveness, and safety of the COVID-19 vaccine based on research from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and other reputable global health sources. And whereas the Get Vaccinated awareness campaign will serve as a tool to prepare students for a safe transition to in-person learning and to instill a sense of safety within classrooms and a return to regular on-campus operations, then let it be resolved that ensuring a safe transition to in-person learning for the use of posters to educate students of the vaccine aligns with the goals of the undergraduate student government as it works to promote student needs and ensure a safe but efficient learning environment for all undergrad students. Again, let it be further resolved, the undergraduate student government of the University of Illinois at Chicago will provide the Student Affairs Committee the disbursement of $166.75 for the printing of 18 by 24 posters at the market value of $47.25 per 3 copies of 9 poster versions. So $141.75 plus $25 express shipping from Canva Print. As a side note, Canva plants a tree for every print made. There will be posters below that, and I believe Tega wants to talk about those.
We can just scroll through the posters so everyone can have an idea. There's quite a lot, so you can just go quickly. You don't have to just scroll as quickly as you can to just get through it. Yeah, so you can just have a good look on what it looks like. Special thank you to Arthur for helping me put these together. Let's keep going down. Go down to the pricing area. That's what I'm going to talk. So thank you, Sarah. And just to go on, this is kind of related to Canva Pro, but Canva Pro is great. I personally have my own Canva Pro, which is why we're getting such a good discount for the printing. And they're not charging us per sheet of paper, they're charging us per 3 copies. So doing the quick math, that should be about $5 per copy, which is $10 cheaper than normal market value. So I think this would be amazing. Okay, sorry, I was reading Matthew's comment. Anyway, this would be amazing to put around campus, and it would be a really great source of information for students, particularly for on-campus residents. I know the residence hall information boards are very useful in disseminating information. So yeah, it's a very good way to get this information across to people.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution?
Yes, I have a question. I'm wondering if it would be possible to add more of our USG logo on this,
So
even though it's
I think it's kind of clear that it's USG oriented because we have our Instagram and Facebook and websites in virtually every single page of it. I just don't want to have like giant logos on it, just for in terms of aesthetics also. Aesthetics also matter when appealing to a certain target audience, which is why I didn't want to go for the giant USG logo on it.
okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Oh, I guess I also wanted to mention that I'll be executive ordering this one too.
Thank you. Any comments?
I guess I just did want to ask briefly, do you all already know like who's gonna do the actual physical, like going to these places and putting the posters up? And then also if we need specific permissions around those?
I've gotten majority of the permission that we need, so we just had to call in, and I think Arthur and I are going to be the ones going up to actually put the posters up. So yeah, if anyone wants to help us, that would be appreciated.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Any amendments? Okay, Wasan?
Yeah, so then I will use an executive order to move resolution 2021-S9-309 to be voted on tonight on the floor.
All right, so we have an executive order from the president. So we'll be voting on this resolution tonight. All those in favor of resolution 2021-S9-309, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Is it just me or did I not hear a lot of people vote? Okay, make sure you guys vote. But for now, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. All right, so next we have the resolutions by Bayan. So if Bayan, if you would like to screen share. So first we have resolution 2021-S9-603. And if you could please present it. Bayan, would you like to read this resolution?
Oh, wait, I thought I was sharing screen. Thanks.
Oh,
Wilson.
I have it on the screen.
Yeah. Okay. Resolution 2021-S9-603. Title: USG stands in solidarity with the AAPI community. First reading March 29, second reading and voting April 12. Co-sponsor Chair of Diversity and Inclusion, co-sponsors President Wasan Kumar and Chair of Campus Life Michelle. Whereas any form of racial discrimination, violence, and harassment against any group of minorities is abhorrent to society, staying informed on social justice issues and learning ways to take action to stand in solidarity against discrimination is the responsibility of each member of the community. And whereas a recent report released by Stop AAPI Hate shows that increasing hostility against the Asian community in the past year, a total of 3,795 incidents were reported to Stop AAPI Hate that include verbal harassment 68.1%, shunning 20.5%, physical assault 11.1%, civil rights violations such as workplace discrimination and being barred from transportation 8.5%, and online harassment 6.8%. Those numbers only reflect a fraction of reality compared to the incidents that were not reported. However, the report exposes hardships faced by the Asian community since the beginning of the pandemic. According to a survey conducted by Pew Research Center, 3 in 10 Asian adults have shared that people act uncomfortable around them due to their race or ethnicity, and they are suspicious of them carrying the virus if they are wearing a mask in public. Moreover, 31% of Asian Americans are more likely to be subject to slurs or jokes because of their race since the outbreak began. And whereas spread of misinformation and racist comments made by politicians have fueled people's fear and caused fatal violence acts to be committed against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, AAPI, with many targeting elderly population and women. According to a study published in the American Journal of Public Health, it was revealed that anti-Asian sentiments depicted in former President Trump's tweets contributed to the racist attitudes and stimulated anti-Asian hate crimes that our country has been witnessing in the past year. And whereas the country has failed minority groups and the Asian community in educating the public and raising awareness on incidents and hate crimes against Asians, such as those of 84-year-old Vietnamese man who died after being shoved to the ground, 61-year-old Noel Quintana, who was slashed across the face on a subway, Vietnamese woman who was assaulted and robbed in San Jose, the 91-year-old Chinese man who was violently pushed to the ground in Oakland, and many other incidents that were not reported due to struggle of elderly with online reporting and the lack of media coverage of incidents, as well as failure of elected officials to address the issue and offer transparent guidance to the Asian American population. Then let it be resolved that the graduate student government acknowledges the anti-hate crimes of instances of discrimination and are not limited to certain areas of the country and have very well occurred on our campus, but many may have not been reported. USG recommends the Office of Diversity to work closely with the Asian American Resource and Culture Center, ARC, as well as Asian-led organizations to provide support and guidance to students as well as the UIC community. Furthermore, USU recommends the university to provide more funding to the ARC to enable them to provide trainings and create additional resources for students in the AAPI community. USU will work with staff and faculty from ARC and the Office of Diversity to provide more educational opportunities to, and address anti-hate violence and discrimination. And let it be further resolved. USG condemns anti-hate acts of violence and discrimination and stands in solidarity with the AAPI community and supports student advocates in presenting their demands in the APIDA letter to higher administration. Just a quick comment that the letter has not been released, but once it is released, I can directly link it in the resolution however you guys want. But since we're voting on it next week, I can make that change depending on whether the letter is released or not.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question. I think you may have just said it, but it says here that we'll be voting on it on April 12th. So you said that's depending on whether or not the letter comes out?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns, amendments, anything about this resolution that they would like to talk about? Okay. All right. So it looks like there are no comments. Bayan, if you could please send me an email next week and let me know if this would be, if you would like me to include this in the packet next week or the week after, that would be awesome. And next we have resolution 2021-S9-604. So Bayan, if you could present that.
Yeah, so just quick correction for the next two resolutions. The voting will be April 5th.
Okay.
I sent you Word documents.
All right. Yeah, we can amend this right now. But if you'd like to read it first, that would be great.
I'll read it first. This is the, oh, okay. All right, so resolution 2021 S9604, Ramadan attendance exemption, first reading March 29, second reading voting April 5th. Chief Sponsor, Chair of Diversity and Inclusion, whereas Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar observed by Muslims worldwide. Muslims fast every day from sunrise to sunset to commemorate the first revelation of the Quran and perform more acts of worship in order to feel closer to their faith and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fasting the obligatory act and all adult Muslims are expected to fast. However, there are exceptions to elderly people with illness and children. And whereas breaking fast occurs after sunset, however, timing changes every day by 1 or 2 minutes, depending on the fourth obligatory prayer of the day. Below are the times that will collide with USG meetings according to the Mosque Foundation website. Monday, April 19 at 7:38 p.m. Monday, April 26 at 7:35 p.m. and Monday, May 3rd at 7:53 p.m. Student government at UIC who will be observing the month of Ramadan. Due to the times of the meeting overlapping with times of break and fast, members will not be able to attend the full meeting due to fasting the entire day and the need to spend the last hour in worship prior to eating. Then let it be resolved, member of USG who will be observing the month of Ramadan will be excused to leave 30 minutes preceding the times listed above. The members will be required to notify Speaker of the House and the Secretary, and they will be observing the month in order to keep meetings organized and preserve USG's constitution and bylaws. Then let it be further resolved that USG strives to create welcoming and understanding spaces of all different religious and cultural backgrounds. Members of USG are encouraged to present similar resolutions that shed light upon their unique religious and cultural practices and make necessary revisions to
Okay. Opposed, please say nay. Okay. Are there people who would like to abstain? Okay. All right. So the ayes have it, and the date has been changed to April 5th. Okay. I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution?
Hey Daisy, I do want to make one small comment on this. Obviously, I think the idea is really great. As a Muslim who's going to practice Ramadan, it'd be really good to have that excuse time to go and have that final prayer before we can finally eat again. So that'll be very helpful. And thank you to Bayan for setting that up. One thing I do want to mention is that depending on what mosque different folks follow, the timings will be different. Not by significant much, but it'll be different by like a few minutes or whatnot. So I do want to bring that to the general body's attention.
Thank you. So follow-up question for you, Mohammed. In that case, do you think the times that Bayan listed in the resolution would be correct, or would you think that you would like to maybe change them to better suit the needs of different people?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think overall, when I look at times, just generally speaking, I think they're good. If somebody does follow different timings, I think it would be better for them to just reach out to you personally and to handle that on an individual case, if that occurs, you know. So
Alright.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for replying. I do have to say, I am generally pretty flexible with, leaving for religious reasons. So if you need to leave a few minutes early than the times that are mentioned here, that's totally fine. Just let me know. That's okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
I have a quick question. I'm just out of curiosity, for those that do fast, how did you guys manage it last year or previous
It
years?
wasn't during
Like student
it
group.
wasn't
Okay.
during okay, yeah, I actually had to mention I thought about mentioning this under the resolution, but I don't know why I didn't. But Ramadan changes every year, so every year it goes forward like 10 days. So last year it wasn't at the same time as school, like it was after school ended. Yeah, so next year, like this resolution will just serve like next year's people, they won't have to create a different resolution because actually I think all of Ramadan next year will be during the school year.
Yeah, and also just to tack onto that, like we follow all like religious exemptions and holidays, so on and so forth, as excused absences, but not even excused absences counting towards the total number of absences, but just completely like valid sort of like clemency gained absences, if you will.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. So if not, then we'll be voting on this during the next meeting. And next we have resolution 2021-S9-605.
Okay. This is the longest one. So resolution 2021 S9605, USG against Islamophobia. First reading March 29, second reading and voting April 5th. Chief sponsor, chair, diversity and inclusion. Whereas discrimination and hostility towards Muslims have been on the rise for the past 15 years, which has led to creation of social aversions and bias perpetrated by violent and uncivilized stereotypes portrayed in various ways around the United States and in Europe and across media networks. Such forms of violence and discrimination have resulted in the marginalization and exclusion of Muslim individuals through laws that target Muslim and through media networks that portray Islamic extremism of groups who associate themselves with violent activity. And whereas this phenomenon has continued to increase in the United States over the past 15 years and continued to threaten the lives of security of Muslims in the country. According to Center for American Progress, several organizations work to provide funding to create a network of anti-Muslim foundations to misrepresent Islam and Muslims in the US. Such foundations work together to hire misinformation experts and religious rights groups in the media and politics to portray Islam as a hateful and violent religion. This resulted in Islam being the most stigmatized religion, according to a 2010 ABC News and Washington Post poll, with only 37% viewed Islam as a favorable religion. This is now referred to as an Islamophobia industry after a report was released by the University of California, Berkeley, and the Council of American Islamic Relations CARE, studying the funding of such organizations in the period between 2009 and 2013. According to the report, $206 million was funded to 33 groups who specialize in promoting prejudice against Islam, with a total of 74 groups contributing to Islamophobia in the United States. And whereas a study by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, ISPU, and Georgetown University was conducted in 2019, has showed that the negative public opinion towards Muslims have increased, and the trend is reflected in the Chicago area, according to Sufyan Sohail, Deputy Director, an attorney at the Chicago chapter of the CARE. Sohail has also reported that there has been a steady increase in reports received by the Office about discrimination targeted at the Muslim American community. Over the past decade, the Chicago area has has seen at least a 25% increase in number of mosques due to Islam being the fastest growing religion in the country and Muslim making up at least 2% of the population in Chicago. According to the ISPU report, approximately 44% of white evangelicals have unfavorable views of however, on Muslims. However, those who knew a Muslim scored lower on the Islamophobia index. Unfortunately, it is difficult for people who live in rural or less diverse communities to befriend a Muslim, which has only been made more difficult by media networks and spread of misinformation about the religion. Furthermore, the media capitalizes on the fear of people and uses Islamophobia as a tool to bring people to agree to certain policies, which only disunites the nation and threatens American democracy. And whereas in 2007, the UIC School of Public Health, SPH, began a program named Visiting Scholar in Israeli Studies program, where they invited Professor Shlomo Shoham, sorry guys, from Tel Aviv University during the event. Shoham said, after September 11, it became universal in such a way that terrorism is right now the scourge of Occidental culture. It's a war declared by fundamentalist Islam against Occidental culture. And right now, we don't have any ways to cope with international terrorism of trying to diagnose what is going on because it's everywhere. Shoham also concluded individuals in the Arab world can then to view Occidental world as barbarian and without culture and be unwilling to compromise. The program is funded by a Jewish Metropolitan Fund of Chicago, JUF, which has donated more than $700,000 to anti-Muslim hate groups in the period between 2011 and 2014, according to a Jewish Voice for Peace. On March 3rd, 2021, SPH invited the associate professor in the Department of Health Systems Management, Ben Gurion University of the Negev, Gabi bin Noon, as speaker. When Palestinian and Muslim UIC students asked questions through the chat about distribution of vaccines and efforts being done by Israel's healthcare system to vaccinate the people living in occupied land, they were immediately removed from the meeting and silenced. UIC students were not welcomed nor given the opportunity to ask their questions and share their concerns about the event being misinformative and Islamophobic. Even though Muslim and Palestinian students, as well as student organizations, have brought this concern to administration of SPH and met with them to explain the reasons to why the event had to be canceled, there has been no effort taken to ensure the security of our students and question Islamophobic and anti-Arab comments stated by the speakers from this program. UIC SPH must respond to the demands of UIC students and immediately terminate the program due to continuous violation of UIC's mission of diversity committed by the visitors. Furthermore, SPH must strive to create a similar program for Muslim and Palestinian students and invite speakers who are fully knowledgeable of the healthcare system in the occupied land and share Muslim perspective in public health. Then let it be resolved that undergraduate student government stands in solidarity with Muslim and Palestinian students who feel that their safety is being threatened by UIC SPH and call for termination of ties between SPH and organizations funding anti-Muslim groups. Moreover, USG will be added to the letter of demands released by Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, which can be found here. This is the link. Then let it be further resolved, USG will continue to stand with student minorities and thrive to provide more inclusive and welcoming environment by holding administrators accountable when hate speech and injustice are being witnessed at UIC. Furthermore, USG will connect the Office of Diversity with SJP and Islamic organizations to create informational events to educate the UIC community on Islamic values and present true information and resources to support Muslim students at UIC.
All right, thank you. So I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns, amendments? First, we had to change the date, right? I would like to motion to change the second reading / voting date from April 12th to April 5th, 2021. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of changing the date to April 5th, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and the date has been changed to April 5th. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Okay, all right, so if not, this will be voted on next week. All right, so the next order of business is items for discussion. Does anybody have any items for discussion?
I do, yes. My item for discussion is about the vouchers for Uber Eats and the event that is coming along with it. So I just wanted to first say that as part of the vouchers, the Uber vouchers resolution that we just passed, we're also going to have an virtual end of the year party. This is something that me and Anshu are planning together. This is going to take place on the last week of the semester, right before exams. And to decide a time and date, I will be sharing a doodle poll. So actually, give me 1 second. I will share it right now in the chat, and I will also, please do let me know if it's like wrong or if I have to change anything. I will also be sending this on Wednesday, along with the deadline, which is gonna be this Sunday. A little bit more about the event that we're planning. It's gonna be an event for all of us. It's gonna be kind of like a social, but also kind of like a party. Just a space for all of us to just meet and celebrate the fact that we just are gonna be completing a whole year of successfully advocating for students. We're gonna have a competition where the prize is gonna be another $25 Uber Eats voucher, and I'm gonna again just send more details about what the competition is gonna be. And apart from this is something that we usually do at the gala. We have USG member prizes, so to celebrate members that were more active, maybe the members that passed more resolutions, all of this. So this is something that I'm also gonna be sending soon, just so just like a heads up for everyone to know. But yeah, that's it. Please do fill the doodle poll whenever you can. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any other items for discussion?
Yes, I have an item for discussion. So I just want to ask everyone, now that the year is about to wrap up, I just want to ask how everyone felt about this year, if they're happy about their experience with online learning, specifically here at UIC.
Maybe just seems like a big can of worms. And since we are kind of cresting 8 p.m., we might want to send Matthew comments on our experiences on online learning. I have a lot of comments, absolutely, on online learning and things that went well and things that went poorly.
Oh yeah, you're right. We are reaching our time here. Because the reason why I mentioned this is because I went over the class of 2024 Facebook group. Seems like a lot of people are very unhappy about their experience here at UIC, but I just wanted to see how we at USG felt about it, because they're very critical of like UIC and how they handle online learning. And it was very recent. It was actually right before spring break, but I didn't want to share it because I wanted everyone just to relax over spring break. But yeah, I guess we'll table this discussion so we can move on with our reports. But I guess I would like everyone to just like reflect on the past year and be honest for on the next time I bring this up.
All right, thank you. Are there any other items for discussion? Okay. All right. So if there are no other items for discussion, we can move on to the next order of business, which is ex officio reports. May we please have the report of the advisor?
Hey, good evening, everybody. I know we're close up to time, so I'll make this very brief. It's good to see everybody. It's good to hear your voices today, and proud of all of the work that you continue to do. Sorry about my background noise here. But I do want to encourage all of you to check out UNIC Care Week that is put on by our office and Cynthia Rosales and Annette Wright and the work that they're doing. There's a big schedule of events that's out there to support students. And so I would encourage everybody to check it out. That's pretty much all we have going on right now. So it's good to hear you and it's good to see you. And I look forward to next week's meeting as well.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? All right, no questions. In that case, we can move on to the next order of business, which is officer reports. As I posted in the chat, due to a time constraint, cabinet members, please limit your report to a very brief summary of 1 minute. I will be having a timer up here. And yeah, let's go. May we please hear from the president?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Daisy. So first off, just a huge congratulations to everyone who participated in another successful year of student elections. In terms of preventing gender-based violence, we worked on various follow-ups with 8 units to pilot this program across all student affairs. You already saw the resolution for this earlier today, with the roughly 5,000 students involved in this program. We got a chance to meet with Carol Peterson, the director of the Wellness Center, who's creating a handbook for students to understand the options they have if they've experienced an incidence of sexual misconduct, and we're hoping to help out with that. We met with Vice Chancellor Rex Tolliver and the Graduate Student Council to go over the details of our housing project, and he's looking to get us a quote of several tens of thousands of dollars. We also worked on a letter condemning the surge in AAPI hate, and a special thanks to Chairwoman Zhou and Chairwoman Adala for their help on this. We also organized, this was really cool, but we organized a meeting with Asian student leaders on campus to pen a letter to UIC administration on changes that we would like to see at UIC. We coordinated this with the Black student leaders and abolitionist orgs on campus to really kind of host a summit and emphasize the sort of solidarity and intersectional struggles that we all sort of face. Beyond that, there really isn't anything too interesting except for this nice little letter that I wrote about this commission where UIC admin is trying to kind of mandate everyone to have their cameras on during classes, which I think is kind of a bad idea. And so I wrote this like 1.25-ish page letter. So please feel free to check it out.
All right. Thank you,
all.
Wasan. Your time is up. Thank you so much. We'll have time for one question. Does anybody have a question? No questions. Okay, awesome. So can we please hear from the Vice President?
Yeah. So basically, there's nothing new. I definitely took this last week to take a break for myself. And so in upcoming weeks, just kind of following up on both mental health coalition stuff as well as the menstrual hygiene initiatives. So any updates, and you guys will have those next week.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? We have time for one question. Okay, no questions. Thank you. Next, can we please hear from the treasurer?
Yeah, so I wanted to start off my report by saying thank you for everyone that voted. I'm super excited to serve as your next president, and I'm excited to work with all of you guys and, work on the things that we promised during the campaign. And so I met with Secretary Daniela and we started planning the end of the year party. And so if anyone is interested in being a part of the planning for this end of the year event, please contact Daniela or I. And then the Uber Eats vouchers resolution was proposed. So thank you for everyone that voted. As Daniela may have mentioned earlier, we plan to have all the members take pictures of the food they ordered and have an event, or like have a small section in the event where people kind of try to sell or pitch their food and what they bought and why they should buy where they bought from, something like that, to just make sure that the event is more engaged. And then I submitted to Chess Club RFF, and so the Dean of Students Office and the Chess Club are in contact. The Red Shoes Review and Chess Club, the Red Shoes Review resolution has been proposed, and the merchandise funding is on its way. So the PRC committee and the Dean of Students Office are in contact. And my meeting time has changed this week to Friday because the sustainability department could not make Thursday. So that's everything.
All right, thank you. So we have time for one question. Is there a question? Okay, if there are no questions, then we can move on to my report. So could you scroll down? Oh, thank you. All right, so I'm starting this. Welcome everyone. Welcome back from spring break. It's good to have you back. Congratulations to Kayla as the next USG speaker. I'm really excited to work with you and pretty much teach you everything I know. I'm really excited for that. So, it says on here that I'll be reaching out to set up a meeting, but we already have meetings Monday at 5, so we'll just be meeting at that time. So the strike policy resolution was presented tonight. Thank you to Matthew for working with me on it. I'm really proud of it, and I know there was some concerns on it, so I hope that we can resolve those by next week. If you have any concerns, please do let me know, myself or Matthew, and we can meet up. And then lastly, Box is now up to date. I apologize for the delay, but I finally have all the resolutions, officer reports, packets, and agendas. They're now on Box, and except for the one for this week, which I will upload tonight. And that's all I have. Does anybody have a question? Thank you, Matthew, for keeping up with the time. Okay, if there's no question, then we can move on to the next report, which is the report of the Chief of Staff.
So I guess the past week we've been working on the strike policy, and before spring break we've been working on I've been meeting with the executive boards. It seems like everyone's still doing a great job. What's in progress is the listserv for USG, where I think I'm going to explore other options. Also in progress is the executive handbook, handbooks with each officer. Oh yeah, my quote: "If your dreams don't scare you, they are too small." Okay, so that's just a quote. I forgot what it is, what it's about, but you guys can ponder about that. So yes, I'm still contacting department heads about policy for open source textbooks. I'm also planning to help out with the lobby day. There's a PERG newsletter for student government. If you want to be a part of that, just let me know. Oh, I have nice. Yeah, so there's a lot of higher education issues I want to talk about with representative. That's all. I yield for questions.
Thank you. We have time for one question. Okay, if there is no question, then we can move on to the report of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Chair.
Hi everyone, it's pretty short. I just worked on the resolutions. I spoke to SJP and ARC about the resolutions. Working on the Beware campaign materials, and I attended the board meeting.
Okay, thank you. We have time for a question. Does anybody have a question? Okay, if no question, then we can move on to the report of the Legislative Affairs Committee Chair.
Hey y'all, so I attended the ELT meeting. I think Hannah kind of covered this a little bit in her report, but it was a Mental Health Coalition initiative. Met with Matthew this morning, and we also had the Office of Access and Equity, so Title IX meeting today. That was really successful. I'm really excited to see what more we can get done through liaison with them. In regards to committees, we've begun meeting with Nora, so congrats and welcome. We also met with Michelle's committee over spring break, as well as with Bayan and Wilson to discuss the Title IX meeting. And yeah, this week's meeting for our committee is going to be 9 p.m. on Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have a question? Okay, no questions. So then we can move on to the report of the Public Relations Committee Chair.
Hello, so I'm just gonna highlight what I'm pretty proud of is that I updated the website. That's about it. So yeah, everything else has been the same. My time is for questions.
Any questions? One question. Okay, awesome, thank you. So next we have the report of the Student Affairs Committee Chair.
So here's some of the content we've got for the social media page. We have a lot of them, that's just 4 of them there. Special thanks to Arthur for helping me put this together during spring break. We voted on the funding. Stickers, we actually finished the stickers today and they look great. And just a reminder that if you're eligible, please go get your vaccine. And if you get the Pfizer and Moderna shot, please go back for your second dose. That's very important. The GPA recalculation meeting is on the 8th of April. And the first year seminar courses, finally some progress on that. I met with Dr. Chaplin, and she's advocating for first year expansion. I guess I'm going to be her liaison between her and students. So if anyone's interested in helping Dr. Chaplin, that would be great. So thank you. That's it for me. I yield for questions and comments.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question? Okay. If not, then we can move on to the report of the Campus Life Committee Chair.
Hi everyone, I hope you had a great spring break. So for our committee meeting, we spent the entire time discussing questions for UIC's reopening next semester, and some key points that we wanted to highlight were flexibility between online and in-person classes, vaccine availability and requirements for public spaces, and like public space sanitation and I guess rules. And we met with Diversity and Inclusion Committee to go over those questions together. And those will be sent over. Sorry, I met with some Asian student leaders on campus to draft a student demands letter following the events of March 14th, I think. Sorry, I forgot. But that we did some writing sessions, and that should be out soon. So that hopefully we can get support on that. And lastly, we had some emergency housing meetings with, oh my God, I'm totally blanking. We had some emergency, yeah.
All right, thank you. Is there a question for Michelle? Okay, if no questions, if you guys end up having any questions for any of us, please email us or send us a message. Thank you everybody for being so quick with this. The next order of business is announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Yeah, just one from me, and that's just a reminder that next week we're going to be having Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services, John Coronado, come and present on UIC's reopening plan for next semester. At least that's the plan for right now. If anything changes last minute, I'll make sure to let everybody know. Also, just a huge thanks to Michelle and Dahlia and the Legislative Affairs Committee, as well as the Campus Life Committee for preparing questions for him. The two committees will get a shot at asking all of their questions, and then the rest of the body will also get time as well. So just wanted to remind everyone about that.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any other announcements? Okay, any other announcements? Last call. Okay, so if not, then the next order of business is adjournment. Would anyone like to motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All that are opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? I only heard 2 ayes. Everybody's supposed to be voting, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. This meeting is now adjourned at 8:13 p.m.